This animated chart models music sales leading up to the 1980s. Notice the two completely isolated tracks. On one side, you have the rock and pop charts. On the other, R&B and soul. A musician could top the charts for weeks, sell millions of records, and tour the country, but their success would hit a wall right here. White stations played white artists, black stations played black artists. There was almost no crossover. 1,000 miles away from the industry executives enforcing those rules, 9 children shared a 2-bedroom house in Gary, Indiana. This was the Jackson family home. To pull his family out of the steel mill town, patriarch Joe Jackson formed a family band. He ran rehearsals like a factory floor. He sat in a chair with a belt in hand, ready to strike for missed notes or sloppy footwork. He demanded absolute, flawless synchronization from his boys. The children adhered to the strict rules of their Jehovah's Witness upbringing and the relentless demands of touring. They skipped birthdays, no Christmas trees. Their youth was spent in late-night performances in adult nightclubs. This factory-like discipline successfully forged a professional prodigy before Michael reached high school. He possessed the technical precision of an adult entertainer, but he was operating without the pleasures of a typical childhood. The transition from a child star to a dominant solo artist required a highly specific collaborator. Michael found that partner when he met Quincy Jones, a veteran producer with decades of experience, ranging from jazz to disco. Jackson couldn't read or write sheet music. He composed entire songs in his head. Working with a tight circle of engineers he called his B-team, he would build tracks by beatboxing the percussion, singing the bass lines, and vocalizing every string arrangement from memory. He recorded these massive, multi-layered a cappella ideas into a device exactly like this portable cassette recorder. This small deck held the raw sonic files for some of the highest-selling songs in human history. Once the cassette recordings were finished, Quincy Jones brought in his A-team of elite studio musicians. They took Jackson's vocalized bass lines and translated them to synthesizers and guitars, snapping the tempos into sharper focus and building out the lush arrangements. By combining Jackson's raw rhythmic instincts with Jones's knowledge of musical styles, they engineered a formula designed specifically to defy the industry's existing categories. We use the word pop today as a catch-all term, but in the early 1980s, Jackson and Jones turned it into a distinct transracial genre. They actively dissolved the borders between funk, soul, disco, and R&B. To force rock radio stations to play a black artist, they embedded hard rock elements directly into their tracks. They recruited Eddie Van Halen to record the guitar solo on Beat It, placing a recognizable emblem of white rock inside a heavy R&B groove. The strategy worked. The music was so commercially viable that network executives sitting at monitors and broadcast control rooms like this one had to surrender. Stations that historically ignored black artists put Jackson's music videos into heavy rotation to avoid losing viewers. His 1982 album Thriller sold an estimated 70 million copies globally. He generated 7 top 10 singles from a single 9-track record, packing massive stadiums and solidifying his status as the king of pop. Jackson didn't just move into the white mainstream, he completely redefined what the mainstream looked and sounded like. Yet, as his global authority reached its peak, his personal life moved in the opposite direction. Seeking absolute privacy, he retreated to a sprawling, heavily guarded 2,700-acre estate in California. He called it Neverland Ranch. He designed the property as a managed infrastructure, hiring a staff of caretakers to maintain the physical environment of the childhood he was robbed of in Gary. He installed a Ferris wheel, bumper cars, a zoo, and a functioning railway system complete with a steam locomotive. He brought in groups of children to fill the space, attempting to keep a simulated youth in constant operation. But an isolated, adult-run amusement park designed to simulate childhood inevitably invited scrutiny. The property became the central focus of abuse allegations and criminal trials. Even after his acquittal, the sanctuary was tainted. Jackson abandoned the property, and the rides were dismantled or left to rust. He possessed the technical genius to engineer a global hit by layering vocal tracks, but his attempt to mechanically assemble a lost youth using real estate and theme park rides proved unsustainable. Today, the tragic ending of his personal life exists in sharp contrast to the production standard he established for the industry. Today, Artists freely borrow from hip-hop, electronic dance music, and R&B to create massive hits. Every modern pop megastar is operating inside the exact genre-blending framework that Jackson and Jones developed. He shattered the industry barriers that kept listeners separated by race and genre. But the man who dismantled those cultural boundaries spent his life trapped inside his